The City of Southport, April 14th, 2022 Board of Aldermen meeting is now called to order. I want to welcome everyone who is here. Welcome to our city staff. Thank you for all you do. And welcome those who are watching virtually. First, I would like to let you know that obviously the person sitting beside me is much younger than the person that was sitting beside me previously. And so there's a discrepancy now between the two of us, but we're welcoming Norwood Blanchard III. He is our new city attorney. He is with Crossley, McIntosh, and Collier in Wilmington. So we're happy to have you and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Item B, for our invocation, I will call on Reverend Alderman Lowe Davis. This will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Message of that day, which is that in addition to loving one another, we are to serve one another. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Davis. Item D is public comment. Again, I just want to remind everyone that there's been a policy change and that we do have unlimited public comment as opposed to the 3-minute limit under the previous mayor and board of aldermen. So I think that's been a very beneficial to our city. Secondly, I would like to announce that to continue in that vein of public comment, that after the planning board renders their recommendations on Indigo Plantation Phase 2, we will have a second town hall meeting. It will be a special called Board of Aldermen meeting where the citizens can come and they can give comment and ask questions. So we'll be doing that again after the recommendations of the planning board. That way you'll have one of many times to address the issue. And thirdly, I would like to just go ahead and announce that we have good news in terms of paving in Southport. We will going to be paving Bay Street and Howe Street, and they should both be completed before July 4th. So this is very good news. I want to thank NCDOT and Representative Miller for their help in this regard. So very pleased with that. So Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. The first speaker is Kathy Cabral.
Welcome, Ms. Cabral.
So, anyone who attended the town Is that better? Oh, okay. That is much better. Good evening. So anyone who attended the town hall a couple of weeks back probably came away with the impression that the people of Southport are not great supporters of Project Indigo. I continue to be perplexed about the development that this is not a binary decision for the citizens of Southport. Chad Paul is quoted in the paper as saying that the notion that the project has to feature the initial proposal of 1,500 homes simply isn't true. And then he goes on to say that it would be irresponsible if the 350 acres get developed in the ETJ and does not become a tax-paying member for Southport. On whose part would it be irresponsible? Is it the citizens? Is it the representatives of the city? Is it the developers? I'm perplexed by that. Having said that, the concept that we should simply capitulate because someone is going to develop this property anyway, there are other ways to approach this project. There are all kinds of conservation trusts. The Orton Plantation is a very good example, a little bit different because it was a family home, and Mr. Bacon clearly has very deep pockets in terms of restoring that to its original use, and with the rice plantation and the long pine plantation. Having said that, why are we not thinking in terms of taking this land, buying it somehow? And there are conservation trusts within the state and within the country that will support that. The Mitchell family speaks about being great stewards of this area, and the example of what they did on Bald Head is probably a good one. So why, because the land is here, does it have to be developed? That's the question I have. Why are we not all trying to come up with another solution? Yes, there are 200 and some odd homes that can be developed that are in the city, that the city will get the revenue for, but why can't we just take the rest of that land and put it in some kind of a conservation trust or a land trust? Why are we not reaching out in the community, in the state, to our representatives and saying, please help us, because this will change Southport forever? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cabral. Madam Clerk?
Harley Lemons.
Thank you, Alderman, for allowing me to speak. I'm Harley Lemons of 6228 Navigator Way, Southport. Please excuse my glasses. They're borrowed. My glasses are at home. Thank you. Yes, they belong to a lady. I'm here as a concerned citizen about the ongoing condition of Southport and its appearance. I met with the town manager this past Tuesday to emphasize some maintenance items for the town. Two of the items apparently need alderman attention of the potholes and road signage. Potholes and general conditions of Southport Street, not including Howell, Moore, and Bay, are in bad shape. Not to say that they are not. What I would say, they're decaying conditions. Several are somewhat like teeth, you know. They get a hole, they get a bad spot in it, they decay, and soon enough they have to be pulled. I was advised by the town manager that citizens should place a work order request using the utilities work website. So I went to it today and figured out which one to use, the maintenance request, I guess, which I entered about 1 o'clock today. And when I left home, I hadn't heard back from it. I don't know if you do or not. One can barely make a turn on Leonard to Park without hitting holes and perhaps breaking an axle. This is one of several around town. Point is, does citizens need to place maintenance requests for each one of these, or could our maintenance department repair them as they are found or seen? We in Southport seem to have the oddest way of maintaining traffic and controls I have seen. First, during the work on Howell Street, we found it necessary to place stop signs at every corner on Lord, Atlantic, and Stewart. I really was concerned about the effect of gas prices and the effective use of gas. Then the signs were finally removed. Happy day. Then came three-way stop signs on Stewart at two corners. Then two- and three-way stop signs on Stewart were replaced with yield signs. This resulted in a stop sign on Hale Street and two yield signs on Stewart. If you're not familiar, there's only three-way. You got Stewart going through and you got Hale going from one side. I do not know how to obey these signs. I don't know who I'm yielding to. They got a stop sign. All right. I don't know who I'm stop sign because they got a yield sign. I don't know. I asked our town manager whose decision the stop sign and the yield signs were. His reply was that he didn't do it, but he could not tell me or would not tell me who made the decision. I understand that daily traffic on Stewart Street was recorded on a recent traffic study, which was approximately 1,000 automobiles. I bet each one of them had something stupid to say about these signs. I know everyone I've talked to or talked to me have. What is Southport becoming? Laughing stock of Brunswick County and the state? Frankly, I'm embarrassed when people ask me about these signs. How could it be true? I was directed to ask the board tonight, who did it? Who's responsible? And that's what I'd like to obtain from you. Who's responsible for the stop sign and the yield signs on Stewart?
Thank you, Mr. Lemons. Thank you for your comments. Madam Clerk?
Rebecca Kelly.
Thank you, Aldermen and Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak today. I'm really excited to have our new city attorney here because what I have this evening will pertain to your new oversight here for the city. So welcome. My name is Rebecca Kelly. I reside at 5971 Dutchman Creek Road here in Southport. And there are just a couple of things I wanted to bring to the Alderman's attention to make sure we've addressed it and at least done a little bit of research before we go too much further with Project Indigo. There is a general statute that went into effect January 1st of this year that pertains to local public officials participating in contracts benefiting nonprofits with which they're associated. No public official from the GS, no public official shall knowingly participate in making or administering a contract, including award of money in the form of grant, loan, or other appropriation with any nonprofit with which the public official is associated. The public official shall record his or her recusal with any clerk to the board, and once recorded, the political subdivision of the state may enter into administer the contract. Anyone knowingly violating this section shall be guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor. A contract entered into in violation of this section is void. For the purpose of this section, the following definitions apply. Nonprofit with which that public official is associated, a nonprofit corporation, organization, or association, incorporated or otherwise, that is organized or operating in the state primarily for religious, charitable, specific, scientific liberty, public health and safety, or educational purposes, and of which the public official is a director, officer, or governing board member. The official may not participate in deliberating or voting on a contract or attempting to influence any other person who is deliberating or voting on the contract. The reason this was brought to my attention, that Dozier is a 501c3, so it is a not-for-profit, And I just want to make sure that, Mr. Mayor, because you are a director of the ED at Dozier, that it doesn't become a conflict for you to preside over meetings about Project Indigo. So I want to make sure that the attorney is aware of that general statute that went into effect January 1st of this year, and make sure that we're not overstepping or misguiding anything. And perhaps, based on his decision, perhaps Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller might be a better person to oversee those conversations. So just wanted to bring that up for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Have, sir.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak that did not sign up? Okay, thank you. Item E is approval of the agenda. You have the agenda in front of you. The only change to the agenda would be adding item 13. This will be the Bay Street resurfacing project and the approval of that contract. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of item 13. Okay, Mr. Allen, and second by Alderman Lombardi. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. The agenda's approved. Thank you. Item F, approval of the consent agenda. You have the consent agenda in front of you. It is it's a rather robust one, and I'd like to review it with the board and with our citizens. Items 1, 2, and 3. You have the minutes of the Board of Aldermen meeting March 10th, the special Board of Aldermen meeting also in March, and then the joint meeting, minutes of the joint meeting with the Planning Board on March 24th, 2022. Items 7 through 9, these are resolutions, and I would like to read some information that will go along with items 7, 8, and 9. These are resolutions in support requesting ARPA funding, ARPA being the American Rescue Plan Act. And so that's what these three are for, and I would like to read information on each one of those. To qualify for ARPA funding, the state requires resolutions in support of the grant applications. The first resolution is in support of the Mulberry Branch Sewer Plant Expansion Debt Reduction. The city is requesting grant money to reduce the amount of debt that the city is expecting to incur because of the plant expansion. Estimates for construction are approximately $31 million. If the grant application is successful, then it would reduce that debt by approximately $12.2 million. The city debt for the sewer plant expansion would then be $18.8 million. The second resolution requesting ARPA funding is to replace the current USDA loan application for the west side of the city, the sewer line replacement and manholes, with grant money. And then the third resolution is to request ARPA funding for an I&I study to identify problem areas. If this grant is approved, the city will pursue construction costs associated with the repairs of problem areas in the fall round of funding. And again, I&I is inflow and infiltration into these older sewer pipes, and then that turns into a costly affair, very inefficient sewer system. On a side note, the city will also request funding for stormwater remediation and mitigation, as I said, in the fall round of funding. So those are those three resolutions on the consent agenda. And then item 9 on the consent agenda is a resolution to surplus and sell police vehicles by sealed bid. There are 2 vehicles, and that information is also on the website and in your packet. So I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Alderman Lombardi, is there a second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Item G, special recognition. We have a proclamation for Arbor Day, a proclamation for Earth Day, and we will be recognizing Jenna Fontaine for over 10 years of service on the Board of Adjustment. City of Southport, Board of Aldermen, Arbor Day proclamation. Equipment malfunction. There we go. Thank you. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, beautify our community, and whereas trees in our city are a great resource of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Joseph P. Hatem, Mayor of the City of Southport, and the Board of Aldermen do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the city, and urge all citizens to celebrate and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Dated this 14th day of April, 2022. Alderman Davis.
Thank you. As Alderman Liaison to the Forestry Committee, some people call us the Tree Committee, let me tell you just a little bit about what's coming up for Arbor Day. It's exciting. We have something new that you don't know about. At 11 o'clock on Friday morning, the 29th, on the steps of Fort Johnson, we will reveal this. And it's been a lot of hard work by the Forestry Committee, and you will be excited. You'll also be excited by the fact that there's the ice cream truck there. So there'll be free ice cream. So come for the ice cream, find out something wonderful coming up about the city's trees. See you there.
And are there members of the Forestry Committee here? If you please stand. All right. Thank you, Mr. Tiss, for being here and for your service. Thank you. That's right. The next proclamation concerns Earth Day. Whereas our home, this planet Earth, is adversely affected by population growth and rapid depletion of resources. Whereas since the first Earth Day in 1970, the Clean Air Act has made the nation's air cleaner. The Clean Water Act has improved water quality, and the Endangered Species Act has attempted to preserve ecosystems to maintain the variety of species. And whereas following the principles of reduce, reuse, and recycle, residents can improve their environment. And whereas preservation is easier and less expensive than restoration. And whereas Earth Day provides an opportunity for members of the community to study, learn, and teach local activities which will contribute to protecting our planet's ecosystem. May it therefore be it resolved that I, Joseph P. Hatem, Mayor of the City of Southport, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 22nd, 2022, as Earth Day. May all the citizens of Southport find ways to better understand, appreciate, and preserve our Earth's resources, especially the resources of our beautiful city. Proclaimed this 14th day of April, 2022. Item H, our agenda. Item 1, Neighbor for Neighbor donation program. And I would like to call on Teresa Jones for that. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot because I didn't have a piece of paper in my hand. I apologize, Ms. Fontaine. There was nothing in here for that, and I apologize. I told y'all to tell me if I was. So anyway, Ms. Fontaine, please come up. Yes, to the board. Serving on a board is it's a privilege, but also a great responsibility. We appreciate everyone that serves. Ms. Fontaine has served on the Board of Adjustment for over 10 years. So we appreciate her service and thank her for it. We have a plaque on behalf of the city for you. Yes, ma'am. I want you to look at the camera. There we go. All right. Thank you. Why don't you say a few words here?
Oh, Harley's going to say.
It's coming your turn.
Okay, Harley's going to say.
Tom, you want to join me up here? Tom is the liaisons to the Board of Adjustments. And also, can I have the other members of the Board of Adjustments to stand, please? And remain standing if you don't mind. Jennifer, the little lady of the Board of Adjustments. For all those many years, 10 to 11, bringing the different side of the question, being an outstanding person to work with, we, the board, thank you. Now, we have 3 new members of the Board of Adjustments, and we have an application for a 4th, which we'll approve soon. You realize it's taking 4 members to replace you? Would anyone ever have thought? Jennifer, may you continue to find ways to make contributions to your community, which I'm sure you will, and to the city of Southport. We all appreciated your endeavors with the Board of Adjustments over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Harley.
Now you.
It's my pleasure. Oh, wow. Thank you all. It's actually been quite a pleasure to serve on this board, or I wouldn't have done it for 10 years. I'm not that, out there. And I also want to say just thank you for the chance to let's give my little part to trying to make Southport great and a wonderful place to live. And I guess that's it. But thank you very much for this plaque. Thank you. One more thing to us.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Fontaine. Again, thank you for your service, and I hope your voice will continue to be heard as we move forward in Southport. I always appreciate your comments, so thank you. Well, thank you. Next, as I previously unfortunately mentioned, the item H, the agenda. Item 1 will be Neighbor for Neighbor donation program, and I'll call on Teresa Jones.
I'm Teresa Jones, and I work in the Utilities Finance Department. And I was here tonight to talk about our Neighbors for Neighbors program. It was a program that was developed by the Board of Aldermen in 2020 to help out with our residents that have difficulty paying the high sewer and water bills in Southport. It's a program that's kind of administered through Brunswick Family Assistance. The customers or residents can call them. They can do it on the phone in some instances, but they also meet in Southport at Trinity United Methodist Church on Wednesday mornings. Just have to qualify based on income and debt, and then the board gives them the senior program, $20 a month to go towards their bill. It goes directly on their bill. It's not given to them. We have non-seniors that also can participate, and that is funded through donations from the community. We have I think we have 5 residents actually that monthly contribute on their regular bill on a regular basis towards that program as well for the non-senior residents. So this was developed with $20 to go towards their bill, which at the time their bill was $98.93, I believe. With the new increase that came about in February of this year, that bill for them has gone up about $18. About $20 actually, because it was $98. Now it's $118. That's considered based on their $2,000 average usage for the people the residents that participate in the program. So what we are looking for tonight is to see if we could get approval to increase that assistance to these residents from $20 to $40 to better assist them in making their sewer and water bill payments each month. We have about 16 senior residents that participate. We'd like to have a lot more, but we try to get the word out there, but 16 are participating currently and 4 to 5 on a regular basis with the non-senior program.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Jones? This is certainly an excellent program, and again, it's where we're increasing from $20 a month to $40 a month. So I will, if there are no questions for Ms. Jones, I will entertain a motion. Okay, a motion to increase this monthly amount from $20 to $40 for the Neighbors for Neighbors program. Mr. Lombardi, is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem. Any further discussion?
I'm assuming there's money in the fund to do this.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, in fact, one of the reasons that we feel comfortable, I'm speaking for myself and the greater we, but is because we're not getting as many applicants as we want to use the money. And so in addition to needing to increase it, I'm hoping that the State Park Pilot will do an article about it. Maybe we can keep rolling the word out, because we've got enough funding. We dedicate $10,000 a year and we're not using it.
Thank you.
She was asking if we, I guess, try to encourage the public to donate to the program. And I think that originally when we started this program, which was in January of 2020, we put out a big campaign. We sent out flyers in the utility bills, and we did have 5 or 6 people that actually, maybe 6 people that started, and some of them have actually closed out, don't have their utility accounts anymore, but it's something that we can actually put on your bill every month. It's just, you might do $5, you might do 10, you might do 20. It's just pay it with your regular bill. It shows up in your regular billed amount every month until you say, I don't want to do it anymore, and then we take it off. That money just goes in the fund, and that's to help the non-senior residents. The senior residents are funded by the board, but the non-seniors are funded by donations from the public, and we have a donation that we get every year from a fund, but pretty much the rest of it's coming from residents. But it's only like $85 a month that we're getting from that, but we only have 4 or 5 non-residents that are actually utilizing the program right now.
Other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Jones. Okay. Item 4, this will be the street sweeper purchase, and I will call on Mr. Tom Stanley, our Public Services Director.
Good evening. It goes without saying, and it's quite easy to tell, that there's leaves all over the streets that are typically swept. The reason being is, well, it's time of the year, and also our street sweeper has not ran probably the last 8 or 9 months due to it is seeing its useful life here in Southport. The city of Southport originally purchased this current street sweeper who's just sitting in his nesting rest at the back of my shop in 2001 is when that street sweeper was purchased. Probably should have been replaced 5-10 years ago, but you know, like Southport does and like we do, we beat the dirt off of everything. So last year, city manager, you know, he tasked me to seek proposals for a new street sweeper. Because of, you know, we went from complaints from our street sweeper looking like pig pen, sweeping up the leaves, but blowing all the dust out, and it did. I rode behind it several times. It was ridiculous. To getting calls of why are the streets not getting swept. So it's a double-edged sword. Again, true Southport way, and I love it. But, so we, on February 18th, we opened up bids for a new street sweeper. I'm not a street sweeper person. This was my first real bid-seeking opportunity, and it was painstaking. But with that being said, Amic Equipment, who sold us the original Timco we have now 21 years ago or 20 years ago, that's who we would like to purchase another street sweeper from. It's the same model, obviously updated, many more functions. Easily, you know, more user-friendly. It's not cheap, but, you know, what is cheap? And I think we get what we pay for, especially, you know, if you ride around town and you see the condition of our regularly swept streets, which most of them are DOT streets anyway. So the price is just over $269,000. I think $269,200. You know, it did come in a little more expensive than the other bid we had, but Southport knows Timco. Southport knows the sweeper we have. We have good service. We had good service with the sweeper, other than, you know, obviously maintenance issues, normal maintenance issues, except for the fact that over time, getting beat to death with the sand we have here, you know, the debris body had rotted away and would blow dust, and we tried to repair it, but there's only so many times you can put new strings in a shoe before the shoe becomes unusable, and that's pretty much what we've done. So with the experience we've had with the Timco 600, it is staff's recommendation that the city approve the purchase of this new street sweeper. And if you guys have any street sweeping questions, I am not that guy, but I do have a representative from Amic Equipment who is hopefully going to sell us this Timco. If you guys have any questions for him, he is here at your disposal.
Tom, what is this air-operated diaphragm water pump? I know it's an It's an additional, but what is that for?
That was not what we were on, we did add some options. That was not what we added to the option, just because it's a little bit extra money. But of course, this is Joe Cook. He'll be glad to answer that question.
Yeah. So, part of maintaining a street sweeper for a long time, and it's very obvious, 20 years is a long time. We typically say that street sweeper replacement cycle is anywhere from 7 to 10 years. So you guys have gotten great life out of your sweeper. Part of maintaining the sweeper is cleaning the sweeper out every single day. That air-operated diaphragm water pump helps to facilitate cleaning the machine with onboard water. So the water tanks that are on the sweeper, we can use that water rather than just dumping it on the ground and wasting it. We can use it to clean the machine out in your wash bay. Not only does it conserve water, makes the operator's life a whole lot easier. That water pump flows a lot of water through it, so you can douse the debris hopper with a ton of water, get the truck really clean really easily.
That being purchased?
That was not, that was addition, we opted for 3 extra options. Mr. Cook added that as another option if we wanted to pay the price for the air-operated water pump.
He's not throwing that in?
Well, I'll tell you what he is throwing in. He informed me that the chassis company went up on prices for chassis, but it would not affect this price. So he is honoring the price not increase, or he's not going to increase the price of the chassis like wherever you get them from. Freightliner chassis. They went up on the prices. They are not going to go up on price. They're going to honor their price. Also, another thing, when city clerk and I kicked this around and mowed this over and really felt like, with our experience with the Timco 600 we have and the upgrade to the stainless steel hopper and also the abrasion package, that it would be beneficial, but the bad part was it was going to be a 210 to 250 day, lead time on getting the machine, which put us in another almost year without. I was also informed that this machine is actually in production. Whether Southport buys it or not, it is on works being produced, and he thinks he can honor our original 120, 140 day lead time. So that'll cut, waiting time, dramatically.
I have a question. What parts of town get swept?
In town, it's basically every road with curbing and gutter. So House Street, East and West Moore Street, some of Atlantic Avenue, some Nash. That's pretty much everything that gets swept in town.
Well, just to play devil's advocate, that's not very many streets, and we're talking about $200,000. Is this necessary? How do we justify spending this much money for this equipment?
That is a very good question. This equipment also, the streets that are swept do have storm drain systems on it. Having this street sweeper helps keep the leaves out of the storm drain system, which create clogs in the storm drain system. So not only leaves, but it'll keep debris. The debris goes into the gutter. It rains. It goes down the gutter. It goes straight into this catch basin, which goes to the storm drain system, which goes out to our river. The more debris, leaves, dirt, trash, people throwing trash out the windows, the more we can keep that off the streets, the less we can keep it out of our storm drains and out of the river.
If I can follow up on that, Tom, doesn't that also, it's part of our flood ordinance, or whatever it's called, the flood prevention plan that we have that's related to our flood ordinance that essentially lowers people's flood insurance cost?
Yes. So
Thank you, Thomas. And Mr. Lombardi, your original question was, yeah, I don't think he's throwing in the $2,000 water pump.
Thomas, how much does it,
It's part of a greater program. So it's part of a greater program for our CRS rating that we do for FEMA. I don't know the exact amount of points that contributes to storm drain maintenance, but it is part of that. And just so everybody's aware, we are a CRS level 7. So that means all of our folks in the flood zone get a 15% reduction on their premium annually. So that's pretty good. But yeah, I don't know the exact points. I can research that, and I can certainly bring that to the next board meeting.
Tom, I got another question. Would it be advantageous for us to get this water pump?
It sounds like it would conserve on water. It sounds like it would make the operator's job easy. And the more debris we can keep out of the hopper after cleanup, obviously the longer the hopper's going to last. Yes. So in short, yes. It's extra $2,000, but in short, I mean, after $269,000 is another $2,000 going to make or break us. That's for you guys to decide.
I'd like to make a motion that we purchase the street sweeper and the water pump.
All right, we have a motion to authorize the city manager and the public works director to purchase the street sweeper and also the water pump. I mean, this discussion has been very good. The air diaphragm water pump, I like that. So is there a second? Second by Alderman Allen. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Vote is 5-1. Thank you. Motion carried. Very,
Thank you.
very good discussion. Yes. Okay.
That's a good question. So it is quieter due to a couple of reasons. So when sweepers sweep, three things that create noise. The broom's on the ground. That's not much quieter. It's the same broom. The engine on the back of the sweeper is a newer engine. It's got better emissions regulations, I guess. And because of those emissions regulations, it does muffle the sound of the engine more. Additionally, the air moving inside of the machine will create noise. Because your machine has holes in the body, air is escaping, making louder noise. With a new body, everything's closed up tight, so it will make less noise. Yes.
necessary to do it before dawn?
That's a question for Tom.
When I go grocery shopping, I try to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get to the grocery store before everybody else gets there. If I don't get there, guess what happens? I'm like this with my buggy moving around. Same thing with the street sweeper. If you wait till traffic starts getting moving, till people start parking in the parking spots, what will you be sweeping? Every other parking spot, every third parking spot? It's definitely necessary for it to go out before the traffic gets on the road and all the parking happens.
Any other questions while we have the representative here? And excellent discussion, and it's sort of like picking up the trash. They come early in that regard.
I think it's just a necessary evil.
That's very good discussion. I've learned a lot about street sweepers and their function and that type thing. So this has been good. All right, thank you. If no one else has any questions. Okay. Item 5 is the appointment to the Board of Adjustment and resolution for ETJ appointment. And I'll call on Alderman Lombardi.
Yeah, the Board of Adjustment received one ETJ application. Kate Siegler was interviewed by the chairman, vice chairman, and myself, and found to be totally qualified. Kate Siegler has a law degree with years of practice. She also served 3 years as an advisor to the Oak Island Town Council, overseeing large projects. We recommend her as a full-time ETJ member of the Board of Adjustments and to the Brunswick County for their approval. I make a motion that is my motion, that we recommend her as a full-time ETJ member of the Board of Adjustment and to the Brunswick County for their approval.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second by Alderman Davis. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you and congratulations, Ms. Siegler. Congratulations anyway. We'll, Ms. Fontaine accepts on her behalf. So, all right, thank you. Item 6, Taylor Field contract, and I'll call on Heather Hemphill, Parks and Recs Director.
Good evening. You guys have on your tablets, I believe, the information, the engineer's report for the bids received, and basically the history, the background, when we opened them, and what each entity bid, and then the recommendation of the construction company to go with. So we're just basically here asking for your approval to allow Gordon to enter into a contract with MGK Construction, which was the lowest bid.
You can see in your packet and also on the website that the MGK Management Construction LLC, their bid came in at $328,000. Is that correct? Okay.
I think they also provided their insurance and their form of bid bond, so that you can see that they've met all of the requirements that we require.
Heather, have they done work for the city before?
No, they have not done any work for the city. They have done work for Bowling Spring Lakes Parks and Recreation and Brunswick County Parks and Recreation, their new park down at Ocean Isle Beach. They came highly recommended.
They've done things like this before?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
What was the original estimate for that?
The original estimate was $421,124.
Oh, it was. I thought it was less.
Yes. Now, I will say, we don't want to give any of that money back. So we are looking at how to spend. I mean, nobody wants to give $120,000 of free money back. So we are most certainly addressing that issue with stuff that we may have thought about, in phase 2 that we might be able to knock out now.
You were looking for a motion to
Yes, we're looking for a
go with
motion
the
to
recommendation
accept
of
their bid.
MGK number 2, Management and Construction LLC for the project.
Okay. Motion, do we have a second? Alderman Davis, second. Any further discussion on the bid by MGK? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. bless you. Okay, item 7 is the 9th Street Lift Station status update. And I'll call on Public Services Director Tom Stanley.
Hello again. Well, I was asked to give a status update for the 9th Street lift station, and I believe everybody here will be happy to know that it is still where it was supposed to be. It is still there. There's been a lot of comment, that I've heard over the past several months, and mostly a lot in public comments, that 9th Street lift station or Southport lift stations are constantly spilling. That can't be further from the truth than it is disguised yellow. That's not the case. You guys should have some information in your packet. I only went back to Hurricane Florence with our last major issue. When I say major, I mean major issue. And since Hurricane Florence, I will say that any sanitary sewer overflow is not good for any place, big or small. But they do happen. It's again, it's the nature of the beast. Nothing is perfect all the time. Our 9th Street lift station is not in the best shape. It's not in the worst shape. What is in bad shape that you guys are aware of, and I constantly make you aware of, is our sewer system. Not our sewer system, but the original sewer system. That is the biggest contributor to the overflows that we have in Southport, be it our 9th Street lift station during a 5 to 7, 11-inch rainfall, or be it our central lift station, which is our main lift station, due to a 35-inch rainfall or 25-inch rainfall during Hurricane Florence. And that's due to, you guys hear it, the mayor knows exactly what it is now, I&I, inflow and infiltration. That is the biggest cause for sewer overflows in Southport. With that being said, we had W.K. Dixon come out last year and did a very limited study on 5 of our lift stations. 4 of the lift stations were our going-up stations, which is the same type station this 9th Street lift station is, and our central lift station. The number, and all we basically did was a drawdown. How many gallons per minute is this pump actually physically pumping right now? Our 9th Street lift station at the time, I believe this was last June, time of last June was, one pump was 144 gallons a minute, one pump was 120 gallons a minute. It was permitted back in, I guess, 1975 for 300 gallons a minute. Obviously, that's been a long time frame, and pumps deteriorate, and, assemblies get changed. But what we did was, after that data, and that wasn't even the worst lift station we had as far as the least amount of flow or least amount of gallons per minute of this type station. But what we did was we went ahead and changed every mechanical unit inside these going-up lift stations that we could, possibly with the city's capabilities, and basically everything that's mechanical in these lift stations. We changed not just the pump assemblies, we changed the entire housings. We changed the check valves. We changed the suction pipes that pull the wastewater up out of the lift station. I'm sure it improved, absolutely. You take an old car with an old engine, put a new engine in it, yes, it's gonna outperform. Do I know the exact numbers? No, I don't. But we can change pumps, we can upgrade lift stations. Is that really gonna help our overall problem? No, it's not. Again, we know our overall problem. It's no better for me to say this, but when we have an overflow due to the I&I, it's not 100% wastewater. It is wastewater, obviously. It's not 100% wastewater. Everybody in this room and everybody on this board has had a toilet bowl overflow in their house. They have. Obviously, every drop of water that hits your floor is not wastewater. It's mixed wastewater. I know it doesn't make spill any better, but most of the water, when we're having these spills, is because of so much I&I. And I'd like to give a reference on a normal day's flow. I'm going to give an average. A normal day's flow of Southport we may pump out 400,000 gallons of wastewater to the treatment plant. Let's go back to Hurricane Florence. During Hurricane Florence, there was so much I&I that 400,000, and that's not an exact number, that 400,000 became over 1 million gallons a day. That's a good number. That's a hard number. So you got 600,000 gallons of rainwater, groundwater coming into the lift station. Yes, there's still 400,000 gallons of sewer there, but there's 600,000 gallons of clean water, groundwater. And not the best terms, but dilution is solution. Are there any questions?
How much is it costing the city to send this to the sewer plant?
Melanie.
The I&I. What's the cost per year?
I believe what Gordon said, this may not be the exact number, but last year I think it was 39 million gallons of I&I we were treating, and it seemed like it was around $300 and some thousand. 317 issues, in the three teens. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I had heard. I just wanted to check on that.
They're more the numbers people, dollar people. I'm the nuts and bolts guy.
Tom? So my question to you is, if we refurbish these machines, do we reset to 300 gallons, or will they have a higher capacity?
It all depends on what, again, I've told you this before, I can't answer this question. I can tell you where our problems lie. It would be up to an engineer to design what it would take to.
So that's what's really before us, is by hiring the engineer that can tell us that number.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
And just to restate what you're saying, even after we repair these, and you and I both know that I've been wanting these repaired for quite some time, we still will have overflows because of the I&I that's there, because whether we go from 125 gallons per minute to 300 gallons per minute, during a hurricane, it's going to be more than 300 gallons per minute that's going to be pushing into this machine. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And we can dramatically improve the flow, I'm sure, not with just one lift station, but multiple lift stations. We can dramatically improve the flow on your basic heavy rain. But when it comes to a torrential downpour, until we fix what we know the problem is, there's still going to be the good possibility of incidents.
Any other questions, comments from the board? No, ma'am. Public comment was earlier, but thank you, though. So you can ask him after the meeting or speak to the city manager, that type of thing, but not during the meeting. But thank you, though. Any other comments, questions on the board?
Gordon, didn't we decide that we were going to do that pump station?
Yes, this is a two-part process. We're going to start with the rehab of our most troublesome lift stations, which is on our agenda tonight to award that contract. And part of the VUR money that we're looking at obtaining, or the ARPA money, I'm sorry, I stand corrected, is to identify these I&I issues to prevent this infiltration and inflow to our system. But I think we need to back up just 1 second and understand that the USDA loan that we're looking at currently is to replace all of the sewer pipe pretty much on the west side of town. And that's going to really achieve our goal of reducing our I&I. And so it's kind of a twofold process. We'll start with the lift stations and then move to the I&I, because if we fix our I&I problem and then force all that into our system, it's just kind of a catch-22.
This problem, this I&I problem, was brought up early in 2019, when we were looking at regionalization of the sewer system, and Hazen and Sawyer told us that one of the biggest problems we had in Southport was I&I, which of course I did not know what that meant at the time, but now I've heard it many, many times. It's one of my favorite acronyms that we need to correct. So thank you, Mr. Stanley, for your work in that regard, and your report, and the fact that the coliform counts, the E. coli counts, we are not spilling sewage into our creeks, into the river. Okay.
We are not.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 8 is the selection of an engineer for a pump station rehab project and contract authorization. City Manager, Mr. Gordon Hargrove.
Ironically, we're going to talk about the lift station rehab. So the city has been earmarked to receive approximately $2 million, the Department of Environmental Quality's Viable Utility Fund. This money will be used to rehab the city's most problematic lift stations. The city recently put out requests for qualifications for engineers to perform the design work for the rehabilitation of the city's most troublesome lift stations, which are 9th Street, the Central Lift Station, which Tom Stanley spoke about earlier. That was our main station, which is located at West Leonard and Burrington, and then the Park Avenue Extension Lift Station. The city received interest from several qualified engineering firms. Staff reviewed each firm's statement of qualifications and made the decision to forward the firms of W.K. Dixon and Wooten Engineering to the board for selection. Both firms have Wilmington locations. In your packet, you can see the pros and cons of each firm listed. Tonight, staff is asking the governing board to select one of these firms so that the city can move forward on these projects. In addition, staff is asking the governing board to authorize the city manager to initiate the contract process with the selected firm with a $100,000 cap on design services. Staff expects this to be sufficient cap for this type work. However, if additional money is needed, staff will come back to the board for authorization for more funding.
I've of course read all the material, but does staff have a recommendation?
You know, we've had a lot of problems with these lift stations, and one of the things that we really want to do is move these projects forward pretty quickly. It is staff recommendation that we go with W.K. Dixon. We have they have intimate knowledge of our system, and we'll be able to put this project in fast forward for the city.
Okay, I will entertain more questions or a motion. The recommendation from staff is W.K. Dixon because they have performed work for the city before, and they have, if you see in your packet, 93 years of experience. They have offices throughout North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee, and they have worked in our surrounding area, and including the Brunswick County Sanitary District.
I'll make that motion that we hire W.K. Dixon.
Okay. There's a motion by Mr. Lombardi to hire W.K. Dixon and have the city manager to authorize a contract with them, I believe not to exceed $100,000. Is there a second? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Item 9. This will be the selection of an engineer for on-call and ARPA services and contract authorization. Mr. Hargrove.
So the city has decided to hire an on-call consulting engineer. We need this engineering firm for a lot of different projects that we have moving forward. So The city recently put out a request for qualifications for engineers to perform design work to include water and sewer repair, I&I studies, stormwater mitigation, and road resurfacing, and all other facets of civil engineering that the city currently cannot do in-house. Staff reviewed each firm's statement of qualifications and made the decision to forward the firms of W.K. Dixon, Wooten Engineer, and Cape Fear Engineering to the governing board. Tonight, staff is asking the governing board to select 2 of these firms so that the city can be prepared to move forward on several important projects that we are anticipating as soon as the funding comes available. In addition, staff is asking the governing board to authorize myself to initiate the contract process with the selected firms, with each firm having a $100,000 cap on design services. So the reason we're going with 2 is now that all the ARPA funding is making all this money available to municipalities to do this work, civil engineering services are being stretched thin. There's a lot of demand for their services, so we felt it best as we move forward with the type projects that we have to do. We don't want to be held up because a civil engineering firm is not available, so we would like you to pick 2 of the 3 that we forwarded for your consideration this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hargrove. So does staff have recommendations? Would one of them be W.K. Dixon, possibly on the one of the 2?
Yeah, so staff is recommending W.K. Dixon and Wooten Engineering for these 2 on-call consulting engineering selections.
And I think that certainly is wise to have 2 firms involved, especially with the amount of work that is going to be facing these engineering firms with the increase in funding. So are there any questions for the city manager? I will entertain a motion that will authorize the city manager to enter into contract with W.K. Dixon and also with Wooten Engineering. Each contract not to exceed $100,000 in terms of cost of design.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Lombardi, is there a second? Second by Mr. Allen. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 10, Southport Crossings Major Subdivision Preliminary Plat. That's not what y'all have. Let's see what. I have that as 13.
Did we add that at 13?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell them.
Yeah, when we amended the agenda, we put that at 13. The Bay Street resurfacing project. So, can you pivot to Southport Crossings Major Subdivision? Preliminary plat?
He's right. He's next.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. All right, Thomas Lloyd, Development Services Director, thank you.
All right, I was just making sure I wasn't getting caught out of the bullpen too early there.
No.
Give me one moment. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. MDI Management has filed for preliminary plat approval for the creation of 3 additional out parcels at the Southport Crossing Shopping Center. The total parcel that is going to be subdivided is 54 total acres. And like I said earlier, it'll be 3 additional lots, a 3.51 acre tract, a 0.8 acre tract, and a 0.88 acre tract. The remaining parent parcel after the right-of-way is dedicated will be 47.64 acres. Most of that parent parcel is wetlands, and the developer still doesn't really know what they want to use for that. They could potentially do some sort of residential on there, but with the way the wetlands are on the site, it would be pretty limited. The zoning on the site is highway commercial. We recently rezoned this a few months back, as you may recall. This qualifies as a major subdivision because it involves the dedication of new right-of-way. They are proposing a 40-foot right-of-way as an access road for the parcels, and for non-residential, no open space is required, so they don't have to worry about that. Parcel 10 will have access on both Southport Crossings Way, which is existing, and the new right-of-way that they're proposing. The UDO does allow right-of-ways to be less than 60 feet if it's compliant with Section D of the Fire Code and NCDOT's Subdivision Roads Minimum Construction Manual. It also has to have a positive recommendation by the fire marshal. I did meet with the fire marshal, and he indicated that they were comfortable with that 40-foot right-of-way. In terms of the water and sewer, Brunswick County will serve these out parcels, and the construction plans for those will have to be approved by Brunswick County, and they'll be inspected by Brunswick County, and we'll have to get notification from Brunswick County that it meets their requirements prior to a final plat being approved and recorded. I did talk with Bill Penix from Brunswick County Public Utilities, and, well, he might be actually Brunswick County Engineering, but he did say that county water and sewer is available there. The pump station has adequate capacity because when they constructed it, they had some additional capacity there for these types of things. They had excess capacity. The stormwater pond also has excess capacity. All they have to do is just modify their permit with NCDOT, which they're currently doing right now, and we would need to get that prior to the final plat being recorded. That's really kind of all I have on that. The project manager, Mike Nichols, is also here. The planning board did review this at their meeting on March 17th. They voted unanimously to recommend that the Board of Aldermen approve the preliminary plat, and city staff also recommends the same. So the action item is, consideration of a motion to approve the preliminary plat. And Mr. Nichols is back there as well, so I'll give him the opportunity to speak, unless there's any questions for me.
Questions for Mr. Lloyd before Mr. Nichols? Okay, welcome, Mr. Nichols. Thank you.
Thomas covered this very well. I just wanted to add one note regarding, he mentioned the remaining parcel having a lot of wetlands on it. I just want to make it clear that none of the 3 parcels that we're designating or attempting to subdivide have any wetlands on them. They're all dry. So they're going to be suitable for the development of future projects out there. They're all similar size to the ones that are out there. You've got the auto shop and the Mexican restaurant that's coming and the chicken restaurant that's coming. So they're all the same size parcels. So there's no change in size or anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Nichols?
You mentioned chicken restaurant. What chicken restaurant might that be?
I was hoping someone would have at least a little interest in what was coming out there or what future plans were coming.
This is the Alpaca chicken restaurant. It's rotisserie chicken. They have, I think there's one in Chapel Hill and there's one in Wilmington now. Anyway, it was approved about 1.5 years ago, but then it was put on hold because of COVID. They should be coming back soon, I would think.
I have a question for Thomas. Thomas, are there any negatives to this, or is there any reasons that we should think about saying no to this?
No, ma'am, I do not think so. I don't see any issues with this subdivision.
Anyone else? Okay. I will we'll entertain a motion that the Board of Aldermen approve the preliminary plat. Okay. Alderman Allen, is there a second? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Item 11, the streetlight policy update. Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller.
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know, street lights can be part of the health and safety of a community and an important design element that contributes to the overall look and feel of a community. Part of the stated purpose of the policy we're considering tonight is to reduce negative impacts on wildlife, human eye sensitivity, and the natural beauty of the night sky, while providing light to enhance safety and the city's appearance. This policy has been available for review. We created a test light situation so citizens could evaluate different color temperatures. I feel like the consensus that I've been exposed to was the overwhelming feedback was in favor of the warmest color, which was the 2700. We had a special public workshop last week to review this policy and provide additional public comment opportunities. Briefly, just a few comments. Really, all the board members were at the workshop, but just a few comments for those who might not have been able to watch it. The policy includes a list of approved fixtures that are consistent with dark skies certification and a map indicating the locations for the types of fixtures. Obviously we know we live in an environmentally sensitive coastal area, and while all artificial light impacts wildlife, we refer to the recommendations from the International Dark Skies Association. They are a nonprofit recognized as a leader in providing support and technical assistance for policymakers. I hope everybody's had a chance to review it. I could step through it all again, or does anybody have any questions about the policy? It's Rich?
You didn't change it since the last time we talked, right?
No, honey.
Then I'm good.
I changed a wording just for clarity instead of all, what was that, John? All situations instead of situations. We just clarified. It was a clarity word. It wasn't anything to change the meaning of it. Yeah.
Okay. And I did see that you said 2,700 or lower. I would assume that means if another one came out.
Right, then we would read, we might.
No, that's all good stuff.
It might be compelling, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, if anybody got any other questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the policy. Okay. And now, Lo, go ahead and ask your question. You were on the streetlight committee.
Have
I
a
was just
motion
going to
and a
make
second.
a comment.
Please.
And we're at the comment time anyway, right? This doesn't mean that the city's going to sweep in and change all of the street lights to conform to what we've identified as the four best styles. As they burn out, these will be replaced. So we can't afford the $1 million to run in and change all the street lights. But we now have a policy where there was no policy about what lights go where and what they should look like and
But just to confirm.
how bright they should be.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Karen, just to confirm, this policy allows the individual HOAs, if they wanted to spend their own money to modify their lights if they wanted to. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I'm sure that we can work with them on their own dime to do something. And just to further elaborate on what Lo said, basically, we've got these, we're saying the color temperature. So we only replace street lights. One, you're only replacing, I'm going to use the word bulb, but that's not what we call it. But you replace that if it's burned out. That will be replaced now with a 2700 as opposed to a 4K, which is more standard of what Brunswick Electric's been using. And that's why you've seen some things go from sort of a more amber light, which is a sodium vapor, it's about 2200 degrees Kelvin, to that 4K. And so we've seen a lot of disconnect. But going forward, once we adopt this, we will meet with Brunswick Electric and make sure that going forward, the bulb replacements, for lack of a better way to say it, will be that. We replace, when we do underground electric, that's when the street lights get replaced, kind of wholesale get replaced, and that's when the designations, if you look at the map, there's a map, all this is on the city website. There's a map that shows in the designated historic district, our entry corridor, which is Howe Street to 14th and more to the roundabout. They would get the dome lights that you see down in the yacht basin where it's been replaced once things are put underground. So that'll be how that works.
So if you want a street light where there isn't one, there's a form on the website that you can fill out and request it. And if you want one moved or repositioned, guess what? There's a form that you can fill out and request it.
And in addition, thank you, Lo. Also, I wanted to amend my motion. In this, we are going to be picking up river mist street lights, and the way Southport is unique in our electric utilities, and when River Mist was built, that electricity was given to Brunswick Electric. Well, our residents in River Mist, the city, Southport, we maintain the roads. There are roads to maintain, but within this policy, we will be crediting the HOAs the same amount, the $11.75 a month that we do for every other street light, so that it will still cost them more because of their lease agreement with Brunswick Electric, but as taxpayers, we're doing that, so that we'll be doing that. So I need to amend my motion. I should have read it. And then, Robert, you can decide if you'll re-second it. But I wanted to amend it to say that we adopt the policy and plan for the River Mist community's inclusion of a total of 75 lights in the street light budget in the general fund, starting with the adoption of the 22-23 city budget beginning July 1, 2022. So then we'll be able to include that in the new budget.
Will River Mist be able to request 2,700?
It'll be in the policy. No, you by virtue of being in the city, my take on this is by virtue of being in our city limits, this is the policy.
Okay.
Now, we'll see if Brunswick Electric agrees with us, since they own it. But these are our standards for our city, so.
Are we good with the motion as per? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you, Alderman Carroll. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Excellent work. The Southport Streetlight Policy has passed. Great, thank you. Thank you. We should applaud, really. Thank you. All right. All right, item 12 is our budget schedule for the fiscal year 2022-2023, and you have that in front of you, Alderman, and it's a timeline, but it's also, we have some dates that we would like to try to determine in May. The earlier the better, the first 2 weeks in May, where we can have the Board of Aldermen and departmental budget workshops. So there's a calendar on the back of our budget timeline, and our Board of Aldermen meeting, of course, is the 12th, so we really don't want to do it then. We can do it the next day, Friday the 13th, but not if you're superstitious. So I'll entertain any couple of dates that everyone thinks they could be present for. Do you like Mondays? We could do it May 2nd. Cinco de Mayo.
I'm sorry, sir, but because I didn't know that till just now. I'm going to be away for the first week of May, so if
Okay.
we could do it the second week of May.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that helps.
Mayor Hayden, I'm sorry, if I also might add, if we could get a few dates, then we'll need to get back with the
Right.
community building and schedule
Sure,
that.
sure. So let's not look at the first week in May, but the second week in May. And how about any one of those days except if that Thursday? Is that amenable?
How about the 10th or the 9th, 10th, or 11th? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm flexible.
Okay. So those 3 days, Alderman Alt, will you be back in town for the 9th?
I believe I am. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, if I could interrupt you one more time.
Please.
The community building manager says the only dates that are available are the 16th and 18th, if we're going to do it here.
We have other venues available to us that we can do it other than the community center. We need to really get this done. We can't push this out till the 16th and 17th.
So we'll meet somewhere 9, 10, and 11.
I mean, I think Lisa's raising her hand right now, talking about that she will not be able to videotape that. But
I'm sorry,
really-
I'm so sorry to interrupt, because we were trying to communicate and I didn't have a microphone. I do have the 9th and the 10th available if we want to do it in the community building.
Perfect.
How many meetings? One or two, Gordon?
What do you think?
How many days?
I'm hoping we'll be able to get it done in 2 days. You know, it could possibly stretch out to 3. I think this year's budget's going to be a little bit easier because most of our capital projects are tied to ARPA funding and VUR funding. So I think it'll be a little bit easier.
And
So hopefully 2.
And were they about doing it on sequential days?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Do it the 9th and the 10th if everyone's available that way. We have it available. Yep. We're going to do them 9th and 10th. 9 and 10, yes. Okay. If you'll book the community building for that, and we'll do it 9th and 10th. You want to start at 6 a.m. or a little bit later? Just kidding. Just kidding. Start at our usual time, what, around 10? Is that good? Or what? 10 a.m. Okay, both days.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. All right, item Lucky 13, Bay Street resurfacing project and approval of the contract. Mr. Hargrove.
First of all, I'd like to thank Tom Stanley and Alderman Tom Lombardi for their assistance in this. They put in a lot of work to bring this bid package together for this particular resurfacing project. So we basically set this project out for bid. We did request for proposals. We had 3 responses. The lowest bid was Fred Smith Company for $136,855. The city staff would like to ask the board to approve this bid and authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with the Fred Smith Company for that amount with a 10% change order rider at the end. So if they get involved in the project, it's kind of hard to tell what's under that asphalt. There's only a couple layers of asphalt and then coquina shell. It's not a very stable surface to be working on to begin with. So we would like you to add a 10% change order so that we can move forward with that project and not hold it up in order to get it completed by July 4th.
Any questions for the city manager concerning this resurfacing project of Bay Street?
I have a question. Gordon, what are the limits of this? I don't have this item on my agenda, so I can't see anything about it. What is from where to where on Bay Street?
So we're going from Whittler's Bench at the end of House Street to Whittler's Bench, but not the parking lot there at Oliver's. We're going to come up to Atlantic Avenue, and we're going to do the intersection. I think it's 50 feet, Tom, up Atlantic. Yep, and that intersection at Atlantic and Bay Street. And then we'll redo the parking lot that's along Bay Street as well. We'll restripe it with thermoplastic, so it's going to look really nice. Did that answer your question?
Have they done work for the city before?
they've actually done a lot of work in the city. They did the parking lot at Oliver's. They were the ones that did the paving on the yacht basin when they raised it up back several years ago to try to mitigate the flooding that was going on down there. So they've done a lot of work that we've been very pleased with.
Okay.
Any further questions? Again, thank you to Tom Stanley and Mr. Lombardi for getting this project going, as well as City Manager. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion concerning entering into a contract with Fred Smith Company for the resurfacing of Bay
I'll make
Street.
that motion. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Lombardi. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Allen. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. So we should have Bay Street and House Street resurfaced and paved prior to July 4th, and that's great news. So thank you. Item I, committee reports. Alderman Allen?
Not a lot. I just, as I'm sure everybody's aware, the planning board is working on diligently on Project Indigo Phase 2. They've established 4 subcommittees that are going to be working on the project and looking into those segments of it in detail, and we'll obviously be making a report back to the Board of Aldermen once they complete their work.
Thank you. Alderman Carroll. Alderman Alt.
I have nothing.
Okay. Alderman Davis.
Just to follow up on forestry, reminding you again about Arbor Day, but the next day, the 30th of April, is Nature Fest, which will be in Franklin Square Park, and forestry will have a table there and answer questions, among other things, about the tree preservation ordinance, but also lots of other questions about planting trees, what the forestry committee does, recommendations about trees to plant and not plant. So see you both those days, I hope.
Alderman Lombardi.
Yeah, beautification had another successful cleanup on Saturday. We were weeding and transplanting and getting ready for the spring planting around the city, many places around the city. We're also planning this coming week helping John Smith Cemetery. Thank you for all the volunteers who help us make Southport the place to live, and we welcome all that want to give a little bit of that time. We could use them. Thank you.
And thank you for helping out at John Smith Cemetery. Mayor Pro Tem Musteller.
Thank you, sir. For Parks and Recs Committee, earlier this week, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board met with our consultant, Dr. Jim Herstein, to finalize the citizen survey that will, along with focus groups, be the basis for much of the updates to the Parks and Recreation and Open Space Master Plan. The survey will be available beginning May. In addition to being able to access the survey online on the city website, citizens will be able to pick up a hard copy of the survey at City Hall or at the Parks and Recreation Department office beside the gym on Atlantic. Our Parks and Recs Director, Heather Hemphill, asked me to emphasize again the importance of completing these surveys. There will be 3 public workshops to provide opportunities for citizens to be actively involved in addition to the surveys. Please be on the lookout. The survey and public workshops are going to be scheduled in May and June of this year, and citizen input will drive the success and outcome of this process and the planning goals in Southport updated in the 2023-2028 Parks and Recs and Open Space Master Plan. Also, on April 22nd, the Parks and Recreation Department will be submitting the pre-application to the North Carolina Public Beach and Waterfront Access Grant, otherwise known as a CAMA Access Grant. This is the first step in the CAMA grant process to determine if a future kayak launch at the end of West-West is eligible for grant funding. As a reminder, the Parks and Recs Advisory Board regular meeting is scheduled each month on the second Tuesday at 6:30 at the Indian Trail Meeting Hall, and always the public is invited.
Thank you. Manager's report, Mr. Hargrove.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can imagine, staff has been very busy with the ARPA grant process. This is really a game-changing grant for Southport. The potential Indigo Phase 2 development has been keeping the development services extremely busy in building next year's budget, and a host of other operational duties have just been, it's been an all hands on deck for the last several months trying to do this stuff. The CAMA exemption for the second phase of the city dock is expected any day. We finally got good news from the Corps of Engineers. They're not going to hold us up, so we're just waiting for that final authorization. I have been led to believe that it would be any day now. The Fema authorization for the change in scope for the Kingsley Pier project has been all but approved. It's the devil's in the details. It's just the paperwork that needs to move through now, so we should be moving forward on this project pretty quickly. This month I would like to thank the hard work of the city staff. It's, like I said, it's been a real slog. First of all, I'd like to thank Chief Charles Drew and Battalion Chief Ralph Treadway for their planning efforts for the Model T 100th anniversary. Y'all did an excellent job. Thomas Lloyd for his continued management of the potential Indigo Phase 2 development. That's been quite a lot of work. I would also like to thank Melanie Trexler, Tom Stanley, and Dory Dutton for their work on the ARPA grant applications. It's taken all hands on deck to make this happen. The state and federal government have a lot of money they want to give away for free. However, the deadline to get that money has been a really short turnaround, and it's created a lot of work for our staff. I would also like to commend Chief Coring on his positive representation of the city at the chief's training a few weeks ago. In fact, I wanted to read this letter to you really quick. It was addressed to me, and it said, I wanted to let you know that I had the pleasure of attending the Police Chiefs Institute with Chief Todd Coyne last week in Salemburg, North Carolina. He represented your town and agency well during classroom hours and after class as well. You are very fortunate to have officers like him on your administrative staff, and I wanted to personally let you know that he was a pleasure to be around and to network with. He goes on to say a few other things, but I'm not going to say them. Sincerely, Robert Walls, Chief of Police, Dallas Police Department. I would also like to thank Heather Hemphill for continuing to drive the permitting process for the city dock. Heather, you've done a great job with that. The logistics involved that are associated with this project, yeah, I mean, you and I talk almost on a daily basis about this, and I really want to thank you for continuing to move that forward. The city dock means so much to the city of Southport, and through your due diligence, it's going to finally be completed, so thank you very much. I would also like to thank the rest of the city staff that I didn't mention here, communications, tourism, animal protective services. Everyone's doing a great job. You're working hard, and as your city manager, I really appreciate it. That's all I have for this evening.
That's an excellent report. Thank you, City Manager. Mayor's comments, and they're brief. First, we should remember Barbara Ann McKenzie Gore. She died April 11th. She served as a tax collector for the city of Southport for 24 and a half years. She retired in 1995. Our condolences to her family. She is the sister-in-law to former Alderman Nelson Adams. Spring Festival, April 15th and 16th, Franklin Square Park, sponsored by Kiwanis Club, Downtown Southport Incorporated, and the city of Southport. It is a wonderful event for family and friends. I would like to commend and thank our firefighters and EMS for their courageous work at the accident on Long Beach Road this past week. by the bridge. So thank you for that, Chief, and for all that y'all do every day. Please check the city website for other events in our city. Look at the April newsletter. We have, as has been mentioned, Arbor Day, Earth Day. There's an event at John Smith Cemetery. So please partake of these events as you can, and please keep up with what's going on in the city on the website. And last, a happy Easter to everyone. May you all enjoy the blessings of this holiday season. And God bless you all in that regard. It's a wonderful holiday. The staff reports, they are in your packet. And as the city manager said, everyone is working hard and diligently to move the city forward. And we're proud of all the work that our city staff does. So thank you. Item M, board comments. Alderman Allen.
Just remind everybody the spring festival's this weekend at Franklin Square Park. I think we're supposed to have a beautiful weekend, so I hope everybody can go, and I hope everybody has a happy and special Easter weekend.
Thank you. Alderman Carroll. Alderman Alt.
I have two comments. One, I want to thank the city manager. There was a gap in the 2019 sewer study. It didn't study from Owen Street all the way up to 11th Street. So that's a very old part of the town. Some of those pipes have been replaced because of the new construction, but the manager is going to have that thrown into the study of the I&I, so that should be taken care of. And I thank him for doing that. The other part is, for clarification, on these lift stations and the liquid that goes into the creeks, while it does not happen every day, and clearly we have in our packages, unfortunately we don't have the whiteboard here to demonstrate that, they don't happen every day. I have in front of me, it got thrown in my file, I was not expecting to talk about this. This is the bacteria rate just for Prices Creek, which is not Cottage Creek. And Prices Creek last month had 8 times the bacterial level than is the standard that's allowed by EPA. So there's something in these creeks, and each one of these creeks where the sewage has gone in the past is constantly hitting month after month high bacteria rates. But the city doesn't do those tests. So after this meeting, I'll be talking with the manager about how we can link up that information with what the city is doing so that we can address it with all of the information in front of us. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Alderman Davis.
Thank you. So when I sat down, there was this gift bag. And I just want you to know that our new city attorney was very interested in whether this was some kind of a bribe. Well, this is what it is. Look at this. Isn't that nice? It's from the fire department, so thank you. On a more serious note, next Saturday from 10 to 12 is the official unveiling of the John N. Smith Cemetery plaque that designates John N. Smith Cemetery as a landmark on the National Registry of Historic Places. It is the only African American cemetery in America to achieve this status, and it's been years of research and effort to get to this point. So we're going to have a ceremony with refreshments, and luminaries will speak. We'll have music, and this is open to everybody, and we hope that the whole city will come and celebrate for this. Next Saturday, 10 o'clock, John Smith Cemetery across from Low White Park.
Well, I look forward to being there. Thank you. It's going to be a wonderful event. I hope our citizens will attend. Mr. Lombardi.
Yeah, I'm just totally pleased that we're finally talking infrastructure and getting some things done. It's been a long time coming, and I'm really happy about it. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mosteller.
Thank you. Just two things. Southport Nature Fest is an opportunity to engage and learn about our wonderful natural environment. Nature Fest will be held on Saturday, April 30th at Franklin Square Park and the Indian Trail Meeting Hall on West Moore Street. Exhibits will open from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. There will be opportunities to learn about wild bird rescue, pollinator gardens, North Carolina aquariums, litter prevention, recycling, sea turtles, and other wildlife. The following organizations are tentatively scheduled to be at Franklin Square: Seabiscuit, a wild bird shelter, Brunswick County Master Gardeners, Southport Beautification Committee, Fort Fisher Aquarium, Keep Brunswick County Beautiful, Southport Garden Club, Bald Head Island Conservancy, and the Southport Community Garden. Also at the Indian Trail Meeting Hall, starting on the hour from 9 a.m. till noon, Southport's Animal Protective Services Officer, Kate Marshall, will be presenting Wild Neighbors, How to Coexist with North Carolina Wildlife. Kate's presentation will focus on alligators and foxes and include a video by North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. This presentation, the location for this presentation will be at the Indian Trail Meeting Hall on West Moore. The Nature Fest Organizational Committee is also working to provide several outings in addition to the events at Franklin Square Park and the Indian Trail Meeting Hall. Anticipated activities include a green swamp tour with Dr. Roger Shue, which I have done that before. It's amazing. If this is offered again, I'm just telling you, it's awesome. You get to see Venus flytraps in the wild. It's cool. A bird boating tour provided by Southport Boat Tours, and a kayak outing through the Adventure Kayak Company of Southport. Details for these additional activities will be posted on the Southport Nature Fest page on the city website. Be sure to mark your calendars. The day after celebrating our trees at the Southport Arbor Day celebration, plan to celebrate our community's natural environment at Nature Fest again Saturday, April 30th from 8:30 to 12:30. And last but not least, it's Pet Vaccination Month. Next month, May is Pet Vaccination Month. The City of Southport Animal Protective Services is partnering with Petco Love to give pets their best shot for a healthy life to family pets in need during a free vaccination clinic. National Pet Vaccination Month is to encourage pet parents to keep their pets up to date on vaccinations. As puppy and kitten season approaches, pet exposure to contagions and deadly diseases like parvo and distemper increases. When? Saturday, May 14th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Where? River Road Animal Hospital is graciously hosting this event. River Road Animal Hospital is located at 8593 River Road, Southport. Pet Love Grant is providing, Petco Love Grant is providing 300 free vaccinations, 150 dog, distemper and parvo vaccinations, and 150 cat feline distemper vaccinations. And River Road Animal Hospital is providing 300 free rabies vaccinations. The City of Southport, our Animal Protective Services, is providing 150 free microchips. So the generous sponsors for this event are, of course, River Road Animal Hospital, Petco Love, and the City of Southport Animal Protective Services. So be sure to let people, your friends and neighbors know. Have a swell Easter, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great reports, great meeting. Again, everyone have a very blessed Easter, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Lombardi, is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem, all in favor? Meeting adjourned. And Chief, thank you for the T-shirts and the card. Thank you.
So,